You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up the better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheap again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Deku Meets Powerpuff Girls. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of ChiWriters on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Now all Might declared as he dug his hands into two different buckets, the left labeled villain and the right hero. The first to be battling will be these guys. Teams D vs A. Both Midoriya and Bakugo gasped out loud to the twist of fate that they would be facing each other, their eyes locking in a split second and sending a tense-filled pulse through the air. Finally, I get to crush you, Deku, Bakugo growled as he hissed through his teeth. Get ready, you little bstrd. Izuku was feeling a little nervous at that and Buttercup did not like the intent in the jerk's voice. Walking away, the raven-haired girl was now curious and asked. Okay Izuku, that caught the guy off and staring at her, what else is going on with you and that guy over there, and don't say it's nothing. She firmly pressed. Izuku didn't know what to do and just opted to tell her part of the truth. We've known each other since we were kids and we were best friends. Bakugo became a bit mean after his explosion quirk manifested. It didn't help that he was always rather advanced and was constantly showered with praise. He views that everyone aren't as good as him from it all, and since my quirk didn't manifest at all until last year, well, I became a target for his ridicule. He looked up to see a peeved-off Buttercup. But it wasn't so bad. At least I got my quirk and so everything worked out. Buttercup had a lot to say but opted to let her fist do the talking. It seems you still look up to that as. Not shying away from her use of words. Looking down. Well, he's strong, confident, and his quirk is so powerful, better than mine. I can't begin to OWW. He was given a smack upside the head. Why did you do that for? Rubbing his head as he looked at her in shock. Looking straight into his eyes, she spoke, "'Cause you're acting like an idiot. You mean to tell me that you've gotten this far and by the looks of things, with an awesome power of your own, and you're still doubting yourself? Besides, the guy is acting like a grade A JRK with an ego to boot. You don't owe anyone who does not seem to treat you with decent respect an explanation of your power or of yourself. Besides, you seem more determined and can think outside the box, like the other day with the ball," she says, trying to get her point across. That was enough to make him stutter and blush in embarrassment. No one in his life, even his mother until recently, ever acknowledged him like that before. She was even someone who had strength too, and here she is giving him praise. Gathering his bearings he replied. I don't know about that but thanks. Trying to cool down. Anyway, we should come up with a plan. What you got? She asked. Well, we just need to secure the bomb and we will win. But I know that Kaken will want to attack while Ida stays behind and keeps watch. So I am thinking that we split up, divide and conquer. He says, with a sure face. Not a bad idea. So I take it that you locate the bomb room. She said it as if obvious. Actually, I was thinking that I distract him while you find the bomb. He will be already coming after me, so it will give you time to locate and disarm the device. Izuku said. Buttercup was not too fond of the idea. Granted, she knew Izuku was tough, but that guy was giving off major danger vibes. She also knew that he didn't have much control over his powers. Okay, but watch your ass, got it? She said sternly. He gave a small smile, okay. Making their way to the site. I don't get why you think he doesn't have a quirk. Ida turned to speak to Bakugo, as he stood next to the fake weapon. I also don't see why you get angry when it comes to Midoriya. Little SHT needs to be taught a lesson. To know his place, he said it with a snarl. Ida didn't pay attention to that but said, well, if you have that much passion then use it in this exercise. Also keep a lookout for that Koyama girl, she is not one to be underestimated. Saying with a serious face. TCH. Like I should worry about a bee like her. She's just another lucky extra who wishes to be taken down by me. He dismisses as he walks out of the room. Ida could say that the girl was disrespectful and crass but had power. Alright, you newbies, All Might's voice boomed through the street's intercoms, the time starts now. The speed hero put on his helmet and got into character, let's go. The eyes in the media room looked between the two teams making their way to their spots, the students already debating the outcome. So, who you got with this one? Kaminari asked the others out loud, I got Bakugo on this fight. Nah, that green-eyed girl is taking this herself. Jiro responded shrugging. Well, Deku is on her team, then they will definitely do great. Uraraka said with determination. Standing next to each other, the girls were watching the screens closely. Blossom, do you think Buttercup and Izuku will be alright? Bubbles asked, a bit worried. She didn't take her eyes off the screen. I am not too worried for Buttercup, but I am slightly worried for if that guy with a short fuse fights her instead. She said a sigh. That was enough to get her back to watching the screens again, but still worried. Izuku was walking along the path leading into the building. He's smart to keep on the alert, doing otherwise would spell trouble out for him. As he makes a turn into the hallway, instincts kicks in. Deku. Bakugo roared as he came down on Izuku with an explosion in hand. Izuku jumped backwards and the ash blonde blasted the wall next to where he'd been standing. The damage isn't much, just half of his mask torn and a few scrapes and bruises, but all was fine barely. What's wrong, Deku? Too much of a coward to stand up and fight. Bakugo said menacingly. Izuku stood up to face his opponent. His body trembling from what just happened, but nonetheless he tries to keep a cool head. Bakugo scanned around, only to just the nerd. With a menacing smirk, well, I see that be left you to me. Oh well, I guess she is smart enough to leave your sorry as behind, so I may teach you a lesson. Izuku did not respond to that, trying to analyze his next move. This made Bakugo charge. I won't hurt you so bad that they have to stop the exercise, but just under that. Bakugo threatened as he launched himself at Izuku. Green eyes followed Bakugo's movements and with a mental nod he stepped into Bakugo's guard. Once close enough he grabbed Bakugo's large grenade gauntlet and used a shoulder throw to slam the explosion user into the concrete, back first. Bakugo hacked as the wind was knocked out of him. The victory was small, but he needed to still be on his toes for what was coming next. Buttercup was making her way to the bomb room as initially planned. She read the schematics of the building and had an idea of where they could have placed it. She hid the corner of the door to observe something weird. She saw Glasses rehearsing being a villain. This guy is too serious for his own good, mentally sighing from this. She is brought out of her thoughts when an explosion, bigger than before, goes off. She taps her earpiece to check on the green bean, but noting is coming on, just. Die shitty nerd. She knew that this was not good. Mr. All Might, you have to stop this fight or he might seriously hurt him. Bubbles yelled, not caring that he was a teacher. Everyone was thinking the same thing but chalked it up to it being all an act. Blonde Koyama, you need not worry. I am sure young Bakugo would never intentionally put his friends in harm's way. Both Bubbles and Blossom knew that was no how it seems, for the way that things are going, someone would be seriously hurt from this battle. Izuku was not faring well with the whole onslaught of punches and mini explosions at him. He tried to dodge as best as he could, even tried to grapple Bakugo once more, but each attempt was met with fade-outs and strikes to his body. He was backed up against a corner, at the other side of the building. His only thought was on if Buttercup is faring better than him. Bakugo, walking out of smoke and debris, looked at the boy in front of him like a madman ready to kill. He spits onto the floor and glares. I wasn't gonna do this, he says, steadying one arm with the other and hooking a finger around the fake pin of the grenade on his arm. But Izuku's stomach turns over, and he gets the feeling that the grenade isn't so fake. But UF pissed me off. This thing here is a massive storage tank. You know how my quirk explosion works, right, Deku? Izuku looks terrified. My costume's been collecting my sweat since I put the thing on. Bakugo starts to pull on the pin. Imagine how big of a blast a half hour's worth of it will make. Bakugo, stop, the voice of All Might blares through their earpieces. You are forbidden from using that gauntlet. You could kill somebody. Oh, he'll be alright if he dodges, Bakugo snickers. The pin comes loose and hits the scorched floor. The hole on top of the gauntlet begins to glow. Izuku tries to think of something but can't as a raging fiery explosion comes at him. The whole scene was moving so fast that no seemed to notice a being that stood in front of Izuku, practically shielding him from the explosion. In the media room, there was much panic as the students just witnessed the explosion destroy the wall of the building. Oh no! Dude, what happened? Are they okay? Young Midoriya, Bakugo. Answer. All Might wondering if any of them is alright. Bubbles was shaking at the prospects of her friend not making it. But Blossom was having other thoughts on her mind. This will not end well. As the dust settled, they all drew their attention to the screen and what they saw shocked them. What? Bakugo grinning wanted to see how the nerd fared with his little toy. As the dust cleared, stunned would be an exaggeration to what he saw right in front of him. Izuku starts to cough as the smoke clears, rubbing his eyes and wincing. Strangely, he did not seem to feel any sort of severe damage from the explosion aside from the heat singes to his hair and clothes. Slowly, he opens them. The first thing he sees is Buttercup's back turned to him. His eyes are as wide as plates, taking in the information all coming at him. Buttercup. Are you okay? But she doesn't answer. Hat. How did you survive that blast? Did you pull a stupid cheat or what? Answer me. Bakugo demanded as he glared at the girl in front of him. Buttercup, having protected her face with her arms crossed over them, lowered them down slowly. She did not have any severe injuries, just some small burn marks and singed fabrics at certain areas of her body. Smoke was coming off of her clothes, but other than that, she seemed okay. She stared at her opponent, hands burst out glowing green energy on either side, making Bakugo step back subconsciously. With a narrowed glare she had only one thing to say. Alright, let's go. In the media room. No one could understand what just happened. Did she really shield the guy? Does she have a fire immunity quirk as well? Is she actually alright? Were the thoughts that ran through many of the students' minds. Okay, I am just going to say it. How is she still standing? Kamari exclaimed, breaking the hanging silence in the room. Seems to be a fire negation element to her quirk. Tokoyami thought out loud. Karo. Maybe, but it is still funny how she seems to have such little to no damage. A finger was placed at Tsu's chin thoughtfully. Sheesh. Buttercup knows how to scare a girl. Bubbles let a breath she held in. Rolling her eyes at sister, you know, we can each handle certain elements, right? In a whispered tone. I know, but it doesn't mean we can't get hurt. Bubbles said in her defense. Blossom soon realized that although Buttercup was safe, it added another reason to put them on the radar. Everyone's eyes turned back to the screen. Even All Might was a bit shocked at this new predicament. There was a moment of silence in the air. All three of them were standing in place, wondering what the next move would be. Bakugo was getting sick of this SHT and piped up again. Enough of this CRP. Die. Charging at his two targets with a crazed look in his eyes, giving off a blast from his left arm that propels him to land an explosive attack. Izuku was on guard to help, but Buttercup raised up a hand, as if signaling let me. As Bakugo changes direction mid-flight, aiming towards the nerd, Izuku wanted to tap into one for all to at least counter. Before either one could do anything, a hand grabbed onto the ashy blonde and as swift as a trained martial artist, swung him so hard that it sent Bakugo flying into the other side of the walls. All that was heard was a big thud and gasps for air. Izuku was taken aback at this and even more so when he saw his partner give off a green aura glow. Finally, time to teach him some manners, she says, as she walks over to him. Wow, was all Izuku could say. Bakugo stood up, now looking more pissed than ever. You think you are so tough just because of dirty trick? Snarling at the girl. Don't talk about dirty tricks, you big baby. After pulling that stunt, she spat as she narrowed her eyes. He said nothing as he charged off, sending off crackles of explosives. He tried to land an explosive blast but was met with a block and a return punch and kick. Buttercup would give back punches to the arms and jaws, kicks the chest and plasma-infused blasts to counter his own attacks. Bakugo was riddled with bruises and scrapes that were visible on certain areas that were not covered with by his costume. Buttercup's arms had some more burn marks but was still better off than Bakugo. SHT. Reeling back from the last punch. Ready to give up. Looking at the guy with a scowl. He gritted his teeth, and raised his other gauntlet straight at her. I will not lose to that shitty BSTRD and some F-up cheat. With a glare, his finger was on the pin. I have enough sweat to win this battle definitely. Kaken no, it's too dangerous. Izuku exclaimed. Shut up Deku, he pulled the trigger, say good dash, he was cut off by the sight of Buttercup's right in front of him, a glowing hand that grabbed onto his gauntlet. Shut up. With that, the glow grew and crushed the gauntlet with the force of a hydraulic press. The explosion gave off a roar so loud that Izuku quickly can only hear ringing after it first goes off, rips the building apart. The flash blinds him and Buttercup, and the heat singes more of their hair and clothes. And he's not even in the line of fire. They feel the building list to the side. But somehow it keeps upright. Mentally, Buttercup curses herself for going a bit overboard with setting off the jerk's explosive and making 3X's more dangerous. They were both coughing, trying to get the dust out of their lungs. Settling down, they saw each other, but they also a sight that would haunt a normal man's dreams for days. Bakugo was sprawled out on the ground, unconscious and battered. The arm he used to set off the explosion was now mangled and covered in third-degree burns with what seemed like some bones sticking out. BLD was oozing out, settling on the ground next to him. Dread washed over them both, and in that state of shock, a booming voice rang through their ears. Young Midoriya. Turning their heads to see All Might coming over. Are you all alright? That was a dangerous situation and Izuku winces as All Might kneels beside Bakugo. I am sorry, not sure to who at this point. Even though Bakugo intended to do much worse to them. All Might shakes his head, it was not your fault Midoriya, giving a quick disapproving scowl to his teammate that honestly makes Buttercup flinch. This should be a good lesson for all of you. For now, I'll take him and you both to Recovery Girl. Young Tenya evacuated the building once word of the explosion was sounded. Yes, sir, Izuku says, slowly approaching All Might. We will all discuss this situation at a later time Midoriya. For right now, you will both have to get moving. With that, the Cape Hero left the two teens behind carrying an unconscious boy. Buttercup felt bad but knew that the situation could not be helped well. She turned to Izuku to see if he was okay, but saw him swaying and about to collapse if not for Buttercup's quick reflexes and catching him before he hit the ground. Maybe the shock of the scene got to him or the physical exhaustion finally washed over him, but it was not a favorable situation. OSHT. In the UA Medical Bay, where 3 students were currently residing in. They came in, All Might carrying a severely injured boy and a female student carrying another unconscious boy in tow. Recovery Girl just sighed and told them to place each one on a bed. Before All Might could even talk or lecture the girl, Recovery Girl shut him down and told him to leave, for which he tried to refute. You have already done your job as a teacher by bringing these kids in. Now it is my turn to see to it that these kids are taken care of, but I cannot do that if you are to cause a mental distress on them. Do I make myself clear? She said sternly, not leaving room for any sort of argument to rise. Reluctantly, All Might left in a huff, leaving Recovery Girl to shake her head in a sigh. Even after all these years, he is still a stubborn idiot. She said as if a matter of fact. That caught the standing Powerpuff Girl's attention, but before she can say anything. Now then, dearie. I won't ask what happened, for I have a sinking suspicion that it was because of a training gone wrong, am I right? She asked with a wrinkled smile. Buttercup only lowered her head, not wanting to answer. Very well, I see that it was not a great class, especially if that bonehead of a hero is teaching it. Giving another smile. That made the raven-haired girl smile, but still kept her silence. Anyway, I wonder why you did not treat them yourself when it seems you are able to. Causing her to WHP her head up at the statement. Yes, I know you can heal people with that quirk you got there. Nothing like anything I have ever seen. You seem to be able to heal any physical damage to the body. Quite an impressive power to have, especially in a world like ours, I'm afraid to say. Getting off her chair to walk over to the young girl. Now, would you mind healing yours and your green-haired boy's injuries while I attend the one severely hurt? She requested as she walked past her. Buttercup was a little confused. Excuse me, lady, but what are you doing? She let out a soft chuckle. Wow, young people today, no time for respect, huh? But before Buttercup could retort, the nurse stood on a stool next to the ashy blonde and puckered her lips before stretching it forward and kissing the blonde's cheek. The scene was weird to Buttercup, but she took a closer look and saw that half of the injuries were healing up. The more severe ones were closing up and the bones were slightly realigning themselves. Before it did not go any further as Recovery Girl stopped. Why did you stop? It seemed to be working. Buttercup asked. Well, my dear, my power is also a healing quirk. But the catch is that I use the stamina of the patient to speed up the healing process in them. I can't continue while they are low on it, or else it will wind up causing more damage than good. That is why I prefer to help out the best I can and let the body heal naturally. Giving a heavy sigh, as if she was wishing she could do more than that. That made Buttercup give a look of sympathy but went on to the green-haired boy's bed. Once there, she placed a hand on his arm and concentrated. She released a familiar green-yellow light that engrossed the boy in it. Recovery Girl stared at the sight with intrigue. The light shimmered and healed of the bruises and cuts that were previously there. As Buttercup could feel that the job was done, she stopped the healing and sat down on a newly found chair. Trying to mentally focus, a glass of water was offered to her on a cane. Drink up, BRT, you seem to be tired. Buttercup looked at her skeptically before taking the cup and giving a mumbled thanks. To which the nurse just huffed and turned with a small smile, my, these girls are impressive, aren't they? Buttercup ran back to her class, once Recovery Girl gave her the go-ahead after she did a thorough checkup to see if her healing of herself was adequate, and it was. She reluctantly left, heading back to ground beta, where she was met different expressions but familiar faces dashed over to her. Buttercup. Are you okay? Bubbles went out and hugged her close. We saw everything on the monitor. Are you okay? How is Izuku? Seconds later before. Oh, and Bakugo. Blossom said, slightly distasteful. Buttercup never liked showing weakness, but she never minded with those she cared about like her sisters. She returned the hug. Yeah, he will be fine. He's healed up and resting at the moment. She said with a smile and shrug. Also Boom Boom Baby is recovering fine, might not see him for the rest of the day. She said with a wry smile. Blossom and Bubbles were glad at that, but not much was said about the others. Excuse me dude, but don't you think that was uncalled for? A voice got the girl's attention. What your sister did was not cool. She could have done much worse in this situation, if that is even possible. Ida spoke in a condescending tone. Excuse me, Four Eyes. Buttercup said with a glare. He's right, you know. Kaminari stepped forward. You literally put him in hospital now, crossing his arms with a disapproving expression. Buttercup was getting ticked off while Bubbles and Blossom were taken aback at what was said. Did they not see that the guy they were defending was doing something dangerous, or that Buttercup was defending themselves against him? What is wrong with them? Well, buddy, if you did pay attention, you would see the jackass was about to blast both me and Izuku off that building. She said angrily. It still doesn't give you the right to badly hurt a classmate, and besides, you would have survived it. Zero piped up. That made the girls go like WTH at that. Blossom, having had enough, spoke. Are you seriously not understanding the fact that my sister was trying to help her teammate, from the guy who was looking unhinged? In a calm voice but had an icy tone. Yeah, back off. She was just trying to protect Izuku. Bubbles exclaimed, while giving a defensive stance, as if to shield Buttercup. No one said anything else, but the atmosphere gave of a hostile vibe. Only when All Might came in, did it seem to be better, well, almost. I am back. All Might declared as he opened the door. Now I know that this battle was a bit chaotic, but in the world of heroics, sometimes heroes make mistakes, silly if you can say. That got many eyes to land on Buttercup, but her and her sisters didn't pay any mind. Now everybody, let's go over the results. All Might declared as he looked over the class. Who can tell me the MVP of this trial? People were shuffling through their thoughts. Sir, although I can't say the heroes won this battle, they took too many risks overall. Midoriya's brushed decision to face off an opponent by himself was brave, but the results show it was not well thought out in time. Buttercup showed heart by rescuing her teammate from a possible danger, but she caused a fatal mistake in abandoning her post to stop the true threat, even though she could have easily managed it. Now to Bakugo, he abandoned his teammate to go off on his own, and his attack destroyed the base he was protecting. The one who stood out the most was Lida, for he took the responsible approach and kept to his position the whole time. FEVS, precisely. All Might stuttered in surprise to the girl's in-depth analysis. Blossom was also impressed by that analysis, and although she got to hand to Buttercup for saving someone, she couldn't deny that if it were a real deal, it would have been disastrous. Buttercup begrudgingly accepted the analysis and made no complaint on it. At least she knew the girl was not so biased towards her. Well, seeing as the unforeseen consequence disrupted the battle, I will just give the hero team a win on this. Seeing as they were the only ones standing. But they will need to do better next time, All Might said as he gave a once-over to the Powerpuff Girls. Now, the next teams to battle will be these two. Shoto Todoroki and Mizo Shoji Team B versus Kayama Blossom and Ijiro Kurushima Team I. The teams were walking out of the room, headed to their positions. Honestly, why do I have to play the villain in this scenario? Blossom annoyed at the results even though it was just a test. Hey, no sweat. It's only a test and you can always pretend we are protecting civilians instead of a bomb. The redhead boy said with toothy grin with his hands behind his head as they walked. Blossom was not too informed with the people as her classmates, but she did know their names and knew who was Kurushima. She noticed that his hero getup was going practically shirtless other than black sleeves and red shoulder pads along with his face wire guard. She quickly chastised herself for staring at him and whipped her head to the side. Kurushima noticed this and thought it was making her uncomfortable, so he tried to lighten the mood. Oh, don't be like that. A real man isn't afraid to show himself to the world. He grinned and clenched his fist. Blossom, keeping the blush at bay, redirected her raised eyebrow at him. As long as you are not showing too much, then you're all good. She remarked sassily. But this just made the boy laugh. Don't worry, I am a gentleman first and foremost. At which, Blossom just rolled her eyes. I can't wait to see how Blossom does. Bubbles said excitedly. Let's see what Red can do. Buttercup also showing her own version of excitement. Now we'll have to come up with a plan of attack if we are to win this battle. She said thoughtfully. How about we just rush them and take them down? He said cheerfully. Blossom only groaned at that. We can't just attack them. We are dealing with classmates who have amazing abilities and can catch us off guard. She explained. No sweat, I have seen your abilities in action and without me, you could probably handle it yourself. He said, directing a thumbs up her way. Blossom was a bit taken aback at the compliment back, nevertheless decided not pay much mind to it. And she came up with one. Outside the building, the hero team was getting ready to enter. They are both in the hall of the north side of the 4th floor. I think they plan to take us on in the same room. Came Shoji's voice from his tentacles. For your own safety, go outside, go outside. Todoroki cockily ordered his teammate as she walked in. I'm sure our opponents intend to fight a defensive battle. Raising his right hand to release cold air. He then places the said hand on the wall, activating his quirk, causing the walls and under his feet to freeze. But we already won. With a cocky demeanor, he encases the whole room in ice. But it goes beyond that. The whole building slowly becomes glacier. Windows shatter and are replaced by ice. Staircases become ramps. The roof practically turns into an igloo. OCRP. The guy has one crazy quirk. Buttercup seeing the scene. It's just like Blossom's, only hers is through breath. Bubbles analyzed. But Blossom cannot be taken down that easily. Yup. Red is too stubborn. Agreeing with her sister. Before he knew it, Kurushima was pretty frozen from head to toe, and so was Blossom, but her head was strangely unfrozen. Behind them was a block of ice. Footsteps were heard and Blossom was keeping her eyes open on the door in front. Entering the room, Todoroki looked around. I see my ice abilities can even immobilize someone like you, huh? He cockily remarked. Blossom didn't react to that remark but simply kept silent as he walked past her. It's not your fault. We are just playing on different levels. Saying that, he was about to touch the bomb until. At that, Blossom smirked before it was time. Before Todoroki could even touch the bomb, it was covered in a pink glow and lifted up and away from him. What the hell? He was confused until. You're right, Todoroki. He turned to see the braid on the girl, he froze, waving in the air. We are playing on different levels. That is why, one should not be too cocky, just yet. Opening her eyes, she had a pink glow. Todoroki was pissed and, not leaving for more errors, shot out a blast of ice spikes at her. But just then, Blossom's eyes turned red and fired heat vision that melted the ice before it came, much to the shock of Todoroki. Taking the opportunity, she aimed her eyes on her teammate and set him free. Yeah, that's what I am talking about. He cheered as he charged at the boy. Todoroki wanted to send another blast of ice but was subdued by a string of capture tape that caught his attention. A big mistake on his part. And he was effectively knocked out by a hardened punch to the jaw. Seeing that Todoroki was effectively out cold, Blossom stopped her concentration and left the bomb down. She felt a little light-headed but managed to stay on her feet. Kurushima saw that. Hey, are you the sound of footsteps brought their attention to the door. Shoji saw what had happened and charged at them. Blossom came to enough to click her heels and out pops ice blades on her boots. She dodged the six-armed boy while Kurushima did his best to subdue him. Taking a deep breath, unleashed a gust of cold winds that entrapped the boy. They quickly tied up Todoroki and were declared the winners. Yuga Aoyama and Mina Ashido Team E vs Kayama Bubble and Koji Kota Team F. Team F was not faring so well. It was Bubbles and Kota versus the likes of Mina and Aoyama. Bubbles understood that Kota's shyness was going to be a problem, so she made the decision to face both parties by herself. Although Kota felt bad, he could not bring himself to fight. It's okay. I get scared at times too, but you just have to try. With that she left, leaving Kota to guard the bomb. I want to help you. Bubbles having a bit of trouble with this than she thought. When she located Aoyama, she took the chance to fire a sonic scream, but not so fast, sweetie. With that, white substance was flung at Bubbles from the back. She saw it in time to flip back out of the way. Ah, I missed. Mina said with a pout. Just then, a beam of light shot at Bubbles, good thing it was slightly off. The sparkle trace appealing, oui mademoiselle. He spoke in a French accent while giving an exaggerated pose. Normally Bubbles would be in the sparkles now, but she really did not like the current situation. Bubbles did her best to push back the two heroes from getting closer to the bomb. She knew she just needed time to run out, but that easier said than done. She had to dodge close-range attacks and long-range attacks while barely able to land her own. Just then when Mina flung another one of her acid splats, it caught on her arm and singed her. She winced in pain but could not afford to slow down. She let out controlled sonic screams not too big to topple the building. Aoyama and Mina were taking cover behind an individual pillar, getting out earshot of the quirk. That girl has some good lungs, Mina said as she held her hands over her ears. She did not notice that Aoyama was gone, leaving behind his red glasses. Bubbles decides to take a break, enough time for Mina to acid skate over to her. She places both hands on the ground, releasing a tremor that shakes Mina off balance. Before she can get back up, the time goes off and the villains win the match, making Bubbles jump for joy. Yay, we did it, ah! He gasped to see a tied Aoyama on the ground with a shy Kota there. Kota, did you do this? I thought you were afraid. Bubbles asked, confused but happy. He twiddled his fingers, I wanted to help. Sounding almost like a whisper, but Bubbles could hear it well. She gave a bright smile and hugged the shy lug. Ah, thank you Kota, much to the panic of the big guy. As the class concludes, All Might addresses his students. That's a wrap. Super work everyone. You really stepped up to the plate. And, we didn't have any major injuries, except for Midoriya and Bakugo. You should be proud. Excellent first day of training, all around, giving them praise. Sue raises up her hand, it's nice to hear some encouraging words after our homeroom class. Mr. Aizawa was kind of a buzzkill, for which they all could agree upon. With a dramatic pose, I'm happy Tio brings such staggering positivity to my students. Now I must go and check on the two students. I am off. Saying that, he sped off with super speed. Wow, he is so cool. Kamari said. Ah, I'll never be able to run that fast. Zero whined. After a few minutes, the students start walking back to change and attend their classes. Buttercup was about to leave also when. Hey Buttercup, aren't you going to go check up on Izuku as well? Catching the attention of her sister. Yeah, we could all swing by there to have a quick visit. Blossom added. Buttercup thought about it and refrained. I don't think it is a good idea to visit while Teach is also there. Besides, we might see him after school probably. Bubbles and Blossom thought about and agreed, after the day they had, maybe not crossing paths with the teacher again is not advisable. UA Infirmary. At that moment, Yagi Toshinori burst through the door, much to the annoyance of the doctor. How are they, recovery girl? Are Midoriya and Bakugo awake? His voice raised. Will you keep your voice down, this is a medical room not a concert. She chastises the man, he gives a low apology. She continued, anyway, Bakugo already left long time, much to my protest. I could not heal much with my quirk so I did some first aid, but he will need to heal naturally for a week. As for Midoriya, he is fully healed, but at the moment, he is just exhausted and will still miss his classes. It was at that moment that Izuku woke up, though he doesn't know why, but he decided to keep silent and listen in while he had the strength. All Might sighs in relief that Midoriya is fine, but he can't help but still feel confused. Honestly, I thought the injuries would have taken much longer. He said thoughtfully. Oh, they were going to take longer, if it wasn't for that here female classmate of his that came in as well. She said. All Might could not help his shock. But how? She's the one to cause this. Yagi said, his voice seemingly louder, causing Izuku to flinch at that remark. Now turning back to face the skinny man, I have a pretty good idea that you were the cause of this, with your teachings. Nevertheless, that girl was able to assist in the healing of the boy here. And even though she seemed stubborn, she had a heart of gold and her powers impressed me. Turning away with a small smile. All Might was not in the mood to argue, but was glad that his protege is healed faster. He will deal with that topic later. Izuku was beginning to fall back asleep, but realized at the revelation of this whole. Opening his eyes to wake up, he realized that it was late afternoon. Rise and shine sunny. Gah! He gasps at the face-to-face wake-up call by the Dr. Hero. Izuku was walking back to the class with many things on his mind. He remembers that he missed all his afternoon classes, worried that Aizawa was going to choke him with his scarf. He sighs, taking a moment to truly assess himself. I seriously don't feel pain. My body feels as good as new. This is quite amazing. Standing in front of his class, reluctantly entered. To his surprise, was met with greetings. Hey, it's Midoriya. Kurushima announced, getting everyone's attention. Good to see you back, super. The three girls and additionally a Kota were brought out of their conversation well, the three were talking and Kota was silently petting a tiny bird to see the whole commotion. They pondered if they should go over to that area, but was not needed when he strode over to them, to face Buttercup. The two were staring at each other for what seemed like hours, but only 10 seconds when Izuku gave big bow to Buttercup and said. Thank you for coming to my rescue and healing my injuries. I really appreciate it very much. Buttercup was taken aback by it, much to the confusion and shock of some of their classmates. She regained her composure and... Bump. She gave him a knock on the head, that is for not covering your ass when I told you to. Besides, it's no problem Green Bean. We were a team, so yeah. She shrugged. Kota was looking a bit scared and confused. Bubbles was hiding a giggle from the cute scene. Blossom was giving a long sigh. Izuku just gave a nervous smile as he rubbed his head. Then he gasped. Guys, where's Kaken? That was enough to bring a scowl to the girls' faces. We tried to stop him from leaving. But he wouldn't listen. You just missed him. Uraraka explained. Izuku ran out of the classroom, no doubt to look for the ashy blonde. Honestly, I hope he realizes that he is not a friend. Bubbles said, with the other girls and Kota nodding in agreement. Izuku ran along the stairs leading down when certain thoughts of Bakugo came up. DMN. You were tricking me for years by acting weak. Bet you've been laughing behind my back, huh? So where's that flashy power of yours now? He saw the blonde boy in front of him and called out, Kaken. Wait up. The boy begrudgingly turned around to show his arm in a cast, promptly held up by a sling. Izuku was going dry mouth, trying to find the words to come out. He so wanted to explain his powers and try to get his old friend to understand. But before he can talk. Here to gloat about the FUNN friend got you. He spat. Izuku was stunned, huh? Oh, don't act coy. If it wasn't for that wannabe hero saving your ass, I would have won that battle and you know it. Wait Kaken, I just want to explain about my quirk dash. He was stopped short by a familiar voice. Besides, the guy is acting like a grade A JRK with an ego to boot. You don't owe anyone who does not seem to treat you with decent respect an explanation of your quirk or of yourself. What about it, nerd? His voice snapping him back. Aye, looking at he loses his nerve. You know what, just can it DKU? Bakugo shouted. Making the boy flinch. I don't care about your worthless quirk. I will beat you no matter what. And those 3 freaks you call friends of yours. I am going to be the #1 hero and I won't allow some extras to get in my way. So enjoy your win, because it won't last. With that, he walked away in a huff, leaving Izuku stunned and confused. Unbeknownst to anyone, a watchful individual has picked up on their conversation and watching the angry blonde kid with an evil smile. Oh, he will do quite nicely in the future. Just you wait, girls. Giving a maniacal laugh as the image is lost. Sir, with all due respect, you can't possibly still allow those girls to continue in this school after what happened yesterday. All Might in his civilian form was in Principal Nizu's office to discuss about or better yet argue on the grounds of the PPGs being in the school, before school starts. Nizu just gave his signature smile at that and replied, honestly Yagi, you want me to expel an exceptional student just because they accidentally injured a student at one of your training classes? That made Yagi a bit taken aback. I understand your concern, but do keep in mind, from the video of the class yesterday, Ms. Kayama acted accordingly, saving her fellow partner and classmate from a real-life scenario. I also saw that you did not stop the battle even though you could clearly see that Mr. Katsuki was going off the handle, am I wrong? That made Yagi flinched. He realized that young Bakugo was being a tad bit overboard in the battle trials, but he had faith that Midoriya could handle the situation and grow as a hero. Besides, Bakugo wouldn't honestly intend to seriously hurt Midoriya, would he? He sighs, I take responsibility for the disaster that happened yesterday, sir. He could not really see the problem but wanted to end this charade fast enough. Nizu nodded, quite honestly Yagi, I am much at fault as you are, that makes the skinny guy look up in confusion. As the principal of the school, I should have done a thorough look through on the support gears requested by the students. That was my mistake, for signing off those dangerous equipment. Though hurting a student no matter if accident is still a problem. But I do have fitting punishments for her as well. With that he gives a sneaky grin that quite honestly makes Yagi nervous. The train to school the next morning is seemingly quiet. The girls do their own things, while occasionally starting up a conversation. Blossom decided to brush up on some literature books to pass the time. Bubbles works on a couple of costume designs and ideas to make her old ones better, since hers and Buttercup's were damaged yesterday. Buttercup decided to shamelessly take a nap on the train, before she had to deal with another crazy day. The girls were walking over to the school when they caught sight of something weird. Any hope of a normal, sane day of school is thrown out the window as soon as they see the mob of reporters in front of the U.A gates. What in the world? Blossom blinked as she saw the crowd of reporters gathered in front of UA at the gate. There had to be a crew from every news station in the Tokyo metropolitan area. Even a few from outside of Tokyo too. The girls were soon spotted by said reporters and swarmed around. What's it like to have All Might as a teacher? A reporter asked as soon as they spotted them and got up close to one of the girls. The girls were immediately flustered by having a microphone shoved into their faces. Blossom noticed other students being crowded by the mass of reporters as well. Ochako, Ida, Mina, and Izuku were practically back to back. Kota and Shoji could be seen near the edge, both of the taller teens with mics being shoved in their faces too. She also noticed a few other students being swarmed too, an orange red-haired girl and a short girl with horns. A black-haired boy wearing a headband, and a blonde teen who seemed to be enjoying the attention he was getting. Probably from another class. Get away from us. Blossom heard Buttercup yell as she did her best to get through the reporters by force while grabbing on to her and Bubbles' arm. What do you think you're doing? A loud, growling voice barked out at the group of reporters. Several of the students let out sighs of relief as Hound Dog, the UA counselor, showed up. You're interfering with our students' ability to get to school. Cease this harassment of our students and leave the premises or the police will be called. We just want to know about All Might. A reporter yelled back. All Might isn't available for interviews today, so leave. Aizawa stated while walking up to the gate with present mic. Why should we listen to such a shabby-looking man? A different reporter demanded. Aizawa just exhaled heavily. This is why he hated the media. While Aizawa kept the reporter's attention, Hound Dog ushered the students past the gate so they could get to class. Blossom calmed down from the surprise of a reporter ambush as she and her sisters walked to class. The reporters sat annoyed as they didn't get anything useful for their programming. The one particular female reporter stomped ahead of the group for more. Well, if they won't bring All Might out, then we are going in for some more answers from the whoa. The large steel security gates shot up from the ground and sealed the entrance off from the determined reporters, now all of them complaining how they wouldn't get good video to send to the editors back at their respective stations. This is ridiculous. How can they have All Might as a teacher and not let us ask a few questions about it? Hey, you in there. Let us speak to him just for a few minutes. As the group of media teams bustled outside the massive steel doors, none of them noticed a single figure standing across the street from them. His scraggly bluish-gray hair rustled in the breeze as his scarred lips curled into a cold grin. This wretched school, full of little BRTS who worship trash. It is time to bring down this broken society. And to do that the time has come to kill that symbol you all look up to. That was so nuts, huh guys? Blossom spoke, still a bit flustered by what happened moments ago. Honestly, I have always found reporters annoying. It was a while since they had cameras shown at them, but they grew to not like the spotlight, especially when dealing with those bloodsuckers. I wonder if All Might is going to deal with his fans outside. Bubbles scowled at the rude experience outside. The girls were still walking and talking, about to reach their class when... Oh, hello girls. Principal Nizu appeared before them with a gentle smile. The girls were surprised but nevertheless greeted the small mammal. Bubbles was doing her best not to lift the creature up and squeeze him into a hug, a sentiment that Nizu would appreciate. Oh hello sir, how may we help you? Blossom asked politely. Well girls, I will need to borrow your sister Buttercup for a chat at the very moment. They were confused at that. She stepped a bit forward, am I in trouble or something? Folding her arms at the thought. Well, it is something, but I will enlighten you all the more once we reach my office. He smiled as he led the way. The girls were confused but just went along with it. They separated and the two went to class. In your seats, Aizawa says, focusing on each student individually for a moment. There's a PRD of dead, unmoving silences. Today. Everyone rushes to move at once, shoving past each other in an attempt to sit down as fast as possible. All Might was impressed with most of your battles yesterday. Aizawa says. That could say that some of you are not taking this school seriously, which is not reassuring. I watched over the video feeds of yesterday's battle, I wasn't impressed. The entire room seems to take in a deep breath, ready for another round of expulsions. Todoroki, the man says, causing the boy with red and white hair to look up from the back of the room. You placed second in the recommendation exam. Your father is Endeavor, one of this school's most famed alumni. I don't understand why you lost. Enlighten me. The boy doesn't answer. Aizawa looks over his shoulder and then down at his wrist. Homeroom is only 45 minutes. I want to get through everyone. Hurry it up. I underestimated my opponents, Todoroki says with such distaste. Aizawa arches an eyebrow. That's an understatement. You went into that fight expecting an easy win. You thought you could carry your team to victory. You froze that building with no care for your teammate, gloated in front of your enemy, and didn't even make sure she was completely incapacitated per the rules of the exercise. You didn't even stop to think why she had her head unfrozen. Bubbles Kayama. The blonde girl was a bit nervous at the incoming critic, nevertheless just held a brave face. I saw from the feed that you were initially alone and I can somewhat understand the pressure it is to handle two enemies at once, but you will have to work more on your quick thinking and tactics instead of letting your teammate of the hook, looking at the large boy now who merely shied his eyes down. Koji, if you are to be a hero in the future, you will need to stop being scared and act brave. Understand that your partner was in trouble and although you helped at the end, it would have not gone well the next time. The shy kid merely nodded at that. Midoriya. Izuku find what little confidence to look Aizawa in the eyes, but still quivering, being prepared for a verbal lashing. You did fairly fine at the start of that battle but still could not use your quirk. Izuku nods just the smallest amount. Honestly, if it was left up to me, you would still not be here. The only reason I can think of that you managed to pass was for your partner saving you at the last minute and securing the win. Like I said, this was just a regulated battle. If it was real life, you would not have been so lucky. Learn to control your powers. Do I make myself clear? Izuku just nods with a determined look. Bakugo, Aizawa continues. Izuku shifts in his seat, still feeling guilty but curious as to how it'll play out. Bakugo seems to think that he knows what's about to happen since he sits up in his seat with his arm in a sling and tilts his head with cocky smirk. Blossom could see this and couldn't help but furrow her eyes. You should be expelled. The F? That caught many people off guard. You heard me. Those gauntlets were given to you with the understanding that you knew what they could do. As a UA student, you're expected to be able to judge when an attack is too much. You put lives in danger with that stunt you pulled, and as such, your gauntlets are suspended. That bee practically set it off herself. She broke my arm. Though Kayama was a bit reckless in her attack, Aizawa says coldly. You brought in a dangerous tool and aimed it at your fellow student, who was concerned for her partner and acted to subdue it. You broke your own arm. You let your petty pride get the better of you. You pulled that pin. You are responsible for your punishments. Stop crying and start acting like a hero, because yesterday you weren't one in the slightest. Bakugo keeps silent, but his hand starts to smoke and shake. A low growl comes from the back of his throat. Izuku's guilt still stays but somehow lessens. Aizawa, however, isn't done. He turns to look at the entire class, a scowl etched into his face. Here's a little lesson for you all, because if you learned it the hard way, people would die. Buildings aren't invincible. They will come down if you aren't careful. All Might had to hold up one of them from yesterday after that explosion. If any other teacher were there instead of him, we would be 4 students short. The class holds their silence. Aizawa continues, you all have the power to hurt. You all have the power to kill. But you're here to learn how to save. As a hero school, UA will help you with that. But we can't teach you basic human decency and rational thought. What Bakugo did yesterday was disgusting in every sense of the word. He is not ready for this course. As such, he'll be suspended for 3 weeks. You can't do that. Yes I can, Aizawa says calmly. I can do or say whatever I want so long as it's legal or approved by Nizu. And I say that you're not part of the hero course anymore. Now get out of my classroom. But Sir Dash, whatever he wanted to say was cut off by the glare Aizawa gave. Bakugo storms out in a full-on temper tantrum. The class watches him with mixed emotions. Izuku was feeling an odd mix of guilt and relief. A few were mad. Most are in shock. Turning back to his students he continued, now before I get started, where's your troublesome sister Blossom, raising an eyebrow at her. Blossom was just about to answer before the door opened to a sight that had people a little surprised. Buttercup was standing at the door, not alone as she was with Recovery Girl. She was having a scowl and the reason was as plain as day. She was wearing a white outfit that looked to be a nurse's uniform that had puffy sleeves and reaches down to her knees, with brown comfortable nurse shoes. And a nurse's cap on her head. Many people were dumbstruck at what was right in front of them, but some wanted to laugh at the scene, i.e. Bubbles and Blossom. Sorry to disturb your class Mr. Aizawa, but I have an announcement to make, may I? He just shrugged but paid attention. She turned to the classroom. It is brought to my attention that there will likely be more injuries in the future, given the track record of some and an incident that occurred yesterday. That being said, I will be having this here first year be my assistant as per Principal Nizu's orders. Gesturing to the increasingly red-faced teen. That being said, she will be my assistant, not to say that she has medical practice but will be my protégé in the sense of the word. Thank you. Everyone was either amused or confused at that. But Bubbles, Blossom and Izuku had an idea or so about the whole situation. With that, Recovery Girl leaves, citing that this was all she had to say and left closing the door. Buttercup begrudgingly went to her seat, eyes on her but no one dares say anything. Once seated, Aizawa continues with a sigh. Well, thank you for finally joining us, Ms. Kayama, and hopefully that little internship will teach you a valuable lesson in the future. All the girl did was grumble and gave an eye roll. Now moving on. You all need to decide on something today, Aizawa stated seriously. Something that'll affect your entire class going forward. All of the students tensed up, expecting another threat of expulsion. You need to choose your class representatives. That's so normal. Almost the entire class exclaimed. I wasn't done. Aizawa's eyes went red and his hair floated upwards as he glared at his students. There was an instant silence from the teens. As I was saying, whoever you pick will become the de facto leaders of your class, so choose carefully. There was an instant clamoring from the students as almost everyone raised their hands and called out that they wanted to do it. After a few moments of no one being able to hear over the others, someone finally got everyone's attention. That person also happened to be raising their hand the highest of anyone. People, please. Ida called and everyone eventually gave him their attention. The class representative's duty is to lead others. That's not something just anyone can do. You must first have the trust of every student in the classroom. Therefore, the most logical way to fill this position is democratically. We will hold an election to choose our leader. But we've only known each other for about a week. That's not a lot of time to build trust. So you spoke up. Besides, everyone will just vote for themselves. Kurushima added. Most people will. But that means whoever does receive multiple votes must truly be the most suitable person for the job. Turning his attention at the teacher in his yellow sleeping bag. It's the best way, right, sir? Do what you want, just decide before my nap's over. Saying that, the tired man quickly fell asleep. Thank you for your trust. A few minutes later all the votes were to the front and Aizawa crawled out of his yellow bag. Yawning, he read through the pages and tallied up the votes on the whiteboard in front. Alright, here are your votes for the class rep. The groggy teacher moved out of the way, revealing the chart. Izuku Midoriya, 5. Momo Yaoyorozu, 4. Blossom Kayama, 3. Bringing a mix of gasps to the classroom. One of them coming from Izuku. How could I possibly get 5 votes? That got Blossom to feel a bit down, but she soon realized that she wasn't so popular among her classmates just yet. Even so, she didn't vote for herself, so who was her third voter besides her sisters? Ito was having a conniption about the whole thing. Not a single vote, holding in his disappointed, he was practically shaking. Buttercup rolled her eyes at that. Yo glasses, you know you could have voted for your name, remember, which some of them agreed with her. Izuku and Momo stood before the class, with Izuku nervously shaking at the prospects of being class rep. The students were enjoying their lunch when an interesting topic of conversation was brought up. Would you care to explain to us why you are in this situation, Nurse Buttercup? Blossom said, trying not to laugh. The girls were having their lunch with a new addition to the team, Kota. Shut up. Red. It's bad enough I have to wear this thing, I don't need any snarky lip from you. Buttercup spat as she was shaking in anger. Oh come on Buttercup, the outfit looks cute. And besides we just want to know if you were in trouble or not. Bubbles begged, not really wanting this to be dropped. Alright, I'll tell ya, if it will shut you up. She began to speak. Well Buttercup, I have asked in today to talk to you about a certain event that happened yesterday. The mouse said calmly. Already knowing where this was heading, she acted fast. Look, I know that the tantrum baby got hurt but he was about to destroy the whole place down and I had to stop it. Before she could continue her defense, Nizu quickly intervened. Now Miss Kayama, it is not about that, well not exactly. He said with an amused smile. She raised an eyebrow at that. It's not. Then why am I here, she asked, now confused. Well, after the incidents of yesterday, for which Bakugo is assuredly being dealt with. One of our staff members observed your special talent and developed an interest in you. Answering a bit vague. Buttercup was puzzled at that, the only other staff she met was. Wait a minute, you mean the old lady? At that, the door opened as if what Buttercup said somehow summoned her. That's recovery girl to you, whippersnapper. And I am not so old that I can't give you a whooping, the lady yelled as she walked over and took her seat next to her. Oh, this is going to be fun. Now then, recovery girl has offered to train you on your healing powers 3-4 times a day for an hour after school. Nizu explained. Whoa. Hold up. Why do I need to do this? It was the medical hero turn to speak now. Because little lady, your gift is something remarkable and I want to see it in more depth and help you fine-tune it if you are to be a hero. She said in a matter-of-fact tone. Indeed. That got Buttercup to think over, and even though it seemed ridiculous, it could be worse. Well, whatever, sure. She gave a passive reply. Humph, enthusiastic I see. The old lady scoffed, matched by Buttercup's eye roll. Splendid, I will inform Midnight as soon as I can. Oh, that reminds, about that other incident yesterday. He smiled a sympathetic one as Buttercup was about to leave, now feeling alert. What now? Now she was suspicious. You will also be assisting recovery girl at all your free time each day, for the next 2 weeks, as a way to call it even with Bakugo, I'm afraid. He said, but with his same smile. She didn't like it but groaned, fine. Wearing this uniform instead for the next 2 weeks, he added as recovery girl showed her the outfit that upon seeing it, Buttercup would have taken even suspension at that moment. No. With that, the girls could not hold in their laughter anymore and let it rip. With Kota sending a shy sympathetic sorry across the table to the raven-haired girl who quite frankly was ready to blast her sisters through the wall. Trying to keep the laughter down. I am sorry, Buttercup. But it's not so bad. Bubbles said in between laughs. That caused a tick to form on her head. Not so bad. Not so bad. Her voice a tad louder. I am wearing a stupid skirt that quite honestly looks stupid on me. I don't think it looks as stupid. Hearing that, she turns her head to the right to see Izuku and company sitting down at their table. Honestly, it's nice that they are becoming friends, even if she is not so fond of glasses so much and bubbly girl, for some gut reason. What? She asks, a bit confused. Izuku feeling a bit nervous continued anyway. I said that your uniform does not make you look stupid and it's quite impressive that recovery girl sees potential in you that she volunteered to help you. Giving her a kind smile. Buttercup felt her anger subside but only a little. Well, I still hate this stupid outfit but thanks. She muttered while taking a bite of her food. See, Buttercup, it can't be all bad. Blossom shot her a teasing smirk. Keep it up, Red, and I will take back my vote. She said threatening. That makes Izuku's focus shift and his smile downcast. Guys, I'm kinda worried about the class rep thing, I don't think I'm qualified. Saying that he looked down at his lunch. Why do you say that, Izuku? Bubbles asked, a bit worried. Yeah. Sure you are. Uraraka added. But I mean dash. Izuku. He turned his head to the red-haired sister. I understand that being a leader is tough and you seem shocked that others would vote for you, but understand it does not happen overnight. Also, sometimes others see our own capabilities where we can't, doesn't mean they are always right, but it just implies that we might have it. You will be fine, if you are really up to it, just know your capabilities. She finished, giving an encouraging smile. Izuku was slightly impressed by her words and had a newfound level of inspiration. Ida piped up as well. But in all honesty, you should work on your confidence and courage if you are to be a rep. You're a quick thinker I suppose, but you will have to be better if you really are to be one. But I hope I didn't make a mistake when I voted for you. That backhand comment may have gone over Izuku and Uraraka's head but not to the three girls who give him silent glares. As Uraraka probes Ida about his familial and social status, Blossom feels like something is wrong. And her suspicions are confirmed when bells are rang and a warning message is heard over the loudspeaker. As people start to run for cover, she runs to look outside the window, to scope the scene. Not seeing the cause of her wrong feeling, she does see that the reporters from earlier inside and so deduces that it might be the cause of the alarm. She however keeps her suspicion at the back. Blossom, what's wrong? Bubbles looking worried. Yeah, Red. We have to calm down these students, it seems like just a false alarm. Saying that, she races to the hallway, her sisters not too far behind. They are however being packed together by runaway, scared and confused students. For which Bubbles constructs a compact force field to make room. Blossom looks over to see her classmates are not faring any better. Looking forward, she sees the exit sign and has an idea to cool the students off. Looking back at Buttercup, Buttercup, I need you to throw me to that sign over there. Can you manage? Which was confirmed when she saw a mischievous grin on her face. Sure, any reason to toss you around. Bubbles was lowering the bubble when Buttercup carrying a blossom in hands jumped high enough, watch your bow, and flung her. She then let out a cold breath, that covered all the students as she flew over them not too strong to freeze them, and landing safely on the sign. There was confused whispers, that was when she took the opportunity. Listen everyone, shouting loud enough to catch everyone's attention. Please remain calm. There is no need to panic. It is just the media from this morning that seem to have made their way onto the campus. The teachers are dealing with it now. Make your way to your designated evacuation point so that the staff knows your location. The reporters? Was the confused statement that followed. Seeing that many people were doing as told, Blossom jumped down from where she was perched and made her way to her sisters. Are you guys okay, any injuries? Looking at her sisters for any injuries. Nah Blossom, we're fine. Bubbles assured her. Yeah Red. Aside from my dress accidentally dirtying, I'm fine. Blossom could tell that was fake concern in her voice but was happy nonetheless. It's time, class rep, let's begin. Momo said, as they all gathered in the room for a meeting. Izuku feeling nervous but took a deep breath and spoke with confidence. Okay, so we need to figure out who the other class officers will be. But first, there's something that I wanna say. Looking at Blossom then the whole class. I've thought a lot about this. And I think that Blossom Kayama should be our class rep. Which got gasps, not just from his classmates but the red-haired girl too. Today I realized from a friend that I may not be ready to be class rep, she was able to capture everyone's attention and get us in line. So I believe that she should be the one leading our class from now on. Making her speechless. Yeah, you know what? Blossom turned her head to Kuroshima's voice. I already voted for her so it doesn't make much of a difference to me. Saying that, he looks towards her and with a big grin, right partner, gives a thumbs up. She couldn't help but smile at that. Well, if Izuku sees something in me, then who am I to deny? Giving an all too familiar phrase, she stands up to the plate and smiles. Yeah, Ice Princess. Buttercup yelled out, which made some laugh much to Blossom's nerves. And much to a peeved-off Ida in his seat. Once the media was finally kicked off campus, several teachers and the principal stood inside the campus entrance in disbelief to what had happened. Their eyes all stared forward to where the steel doors once guarded the campus, the solid barrier now nothing more than a pile of crumbled rubble. So I can say the news teams were not the ones who bypassed the campus security. Midnight sarcastically answered. Indeed. It seems that someone else was behind this, Principal Nizu quietly responded in front. Some villain actually managed to infiltrate our school. The Space Hero 13 grunted in frustration to the event. These doors are designed to take an 18-wheeler at full speed, and yet they were destroyed so easily. The internal security systems haven't detected anything else, however. The small principal exhaled as he stepped towards the disintegrated doors. Perhaps. But I am concerned if this was simply an act of power or a declaration of war. The next day at UA, the slight tension could be felt in the air on campus. With the security breach yesterday, many students were a little on edge about the effect it would have on their schedules and what the teachers would do next. But for Class 1A that wasn't going to be an issue. For to their surprise and excitement, they had rescue training today. Rescue training? What's that? Kaminari questioned out loud. Today you'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks and other things in that sense. Aizawa answered. There will be myself, All Might and one other faculty member judging your performances today. Whoa, really? That's so exciting. Mina cheered from her seat. Finally, some real hero stuff. Kurushima clenched his fist in glee. I'm shaking with excitement. The girls were also excited to see a new terrain. As for having a teacher not be an ass, they wouldn't hold their breath anytime soon. Just remember, most of you are not used to your costumes yet. Use today as practice in getting a feel of their limits and how they apply with your quirks. And don't repeat any foolishness like what happened a few days ago. He said while grabbing his papers off his desk, making a few of them flinch. We will be taking a bus to a nearby facility to conduct today's lessons. Now get ready and be outside in 10 minutes. Standing up with the others, the girls make their way over to their costumes. Thanks again Bubs for fixing my costume. Buttercup said to her sister. It's no problem Buttercup. Not your fault. Hey girls, let's hurry up or we will be late. Blossom demanded as she stood by the door. Buttercup just rolled her eyes. Remind me again why I voted for her. Which Bubbles just smiled and shrugged as they walked out. As the students made their way into the bus, much to the help of the reps, they were finally on the move to the rescue site. Hey, why didn't you change into your outfit? Don't you want to train in it? Uraraka asked. Oh, well my costume got pretty burnt up in my match the other day. Izuku blushed and rubbed his head. They have to repair it for now. Bubbles nodded from across the aisle to the answer. It was pretty bad from what I could tell. You should consider a stronger material for your costume next time. Or I could design it. She said all excited. I don't know. Hee, Midoriya awkwardly chuckled as he sweated more. With me not controlling my power yet, I'd rather have a weaker costume so it doesn't get in my way. From the other side of Midoriya, Tsu chimed in suddenly. Since we are talking about powers, I have something I want to say. Rib bit. She looked to the boy next to her. About you Midoriya and later the Kayamas. That made the girls all pay attention. Isn't your power a lot like All Might's? Midoriya's face turned a deep red the moment he heard those words. Whwadi. Don't be ridiculous, Ajui, he sweated more at the look she gave him suddenly. I mean Tsu. Bubbles raised her eyebrow to what Tsu suddenly said. Wait, what do you mean? How is his power like All Might? Well, when he punches it makes large shock waves just like All Might does. Tsu pointed out. It is kinda interesting. Rib bit. Looking back to Midoriya, Blossom began thinking back to the quirk test and watching his match the other day. The moves he used did seem similar to the times she saw All Might's attacks on television. She didn't know what kind of quirk he had, so she didn't know how to compare it to him, but there is a factor of strength enhancing, if she's sure. Kurushima suddenly interjected. Nah, they aren't similar, Tsu. All Might doesn't hurt himself like Midoriya does, so that makes a big difference. As the others looked over to the redhead, Midoriya silently sighed in relief the conversation got changed off of him. I mean, I just have this hardening quirk, so it's not really all that great for a hero look. Kurushima sighed as he hardened his arm in front of everyone. Blossom looked intrigued at the act however. It's quite a useful power, Kurushima. Izuku said, earning a nod from Blossom. Indeed Kurushima. Your power looks to be a great balance of offense and defense. You should be happy to have a great ability like that. Blossom said truthfully. The compliments earned a slight blushing smile on the red head. Thanks, but you are the one that has an awesome pro quirk Blossom, just like your sisters. That reminds me, Ribbit. Looking at the three girls. I am not entirely sure of all your powers. Sometimes I think too, but then there are some surprises in store, but that can't be possible, right? That made the girls go silent. Before the topic can be pushed further, the bus stops. All of you shut up now. We have arrived, he groaned as the bus came to a stop. The students all walked off after their teacher to what appeared as an enormous dome structure that towered high above the street. They all stared in amazement at the sheer size of the building. Wow, they had all those areas for the testing in this building. How much money does this school have? Greetings students, I have been waiting for you all to come, the Hero 13 happily announced to them all. Most were excited of course, while Midoriya was practically shivering seeing another pro in person. 13 turned and signaled them all to follow. Come on, I cannot wait to show you what we have for you inside. She said gleefully. Going through the massive steel doors leading inside, the 1A class were left speechless to the sprawling interior that seemed twice as big as the outside. The central plaza's fountain was the focal point to the entire facility. Multiple domes were set up between different other zones ranging from mountains and other small ruined city buildings all surrounding a large lake with a ship in the center. It was even more than they ever imagined. Now this is something. Zero added as well. This training ground that I created is the perfect site to put your heroism to the test. I call it the unforeseen simulation joint. 13 introduced with a flourish. Everyone could practically hear the smile in her voice, even with the speaker/filter. It really is USJ. Several of them exclaimed, comparing the two acronyms against each other. 13, where's All Might? I thought he was supposed to be meeting us here. Aizawa questioned his colleague. As the students all chatted about what was to come, 13 leaned over to Aizawa. So I received a call from All Might. Apparently he won't be coming at the moment. Aizawa sighed to the news. You mean to tell me he will be late? Yes, he says he will try to join during the end of class. You think it will be okay with just the two of us? Aizawa grunted and turned back to the class. Alright, time is money. Let's not waste any more of it. Nodding, 13 turned back to the students. Now, you have all come to the unforeseen simulation joint, which we call USJ. Here you will get the chance to test yourselves situations that can happen at any given day. Fire, storms, mudslides, and flooding. This is where we will see what you do in a disaster situation. Many of the students began chattering in excitement before 13 held her hand up to silence them. Don't get ahead of yourselves now. When using your quirks in battle, that is a big difference than in a rescue situation. Take my quirk Black Hole for example. It is extremely powerful and can absorb anything, but I must be careful for it can harm civilians just as fast as helping. That is where training today comes in for you. You will learn to use your powers for aiding and rescue. Suddenly Kamari and Buttercup could feel something was going wrong with the lights as they suddenly short-circuited. Blossom could sense a portal about to appear in the plaza. Aizawa seeing his student's serious face, spinning around to see the expanding wall of shadow. What the hell is this? He cautiously stated, only for his answer to come moments later. 13. Protect the students. Through the center of the cloud, a hand gripped the edge and pulled the host through, his body and face covered with multiple severed hands clutched onto him. He walked through the portal and was immediately followed by several more people. Then, several dozen more began making their way out as well, many of them wielding weapons too. What the I thought we were saving people? Kurushima questioned out loud, thinking this was part of the training still. Why are we having to fight and dash? Stay back. Aizawa stated with a sharp tone. Those are villains. While many people were shocked and scared, the girls all looked at each other and knew what they had to do. Let's save the day. Protect the people. Kick some ass. Aizawa glared down at the group still coming inside. So these people were the ones responsible for yesterday. They used the media as cover to sneak inside. Aizawa, something's wrong. I can't get communication to the school all of the sudden. 13 yelled out. What? Aizawa questioned, they must have someone's quirk jamming the signals in and out of here, DMN. It. From the area down below, the large smoke cloud shifted and revealed the yellow eyes of the host. The information we gathered said All Might was supposed to be here, and yet he isn't. Shigaraki sighed in annoyance and scratched his neck. Oh, such a shame, Kurohige. We spend all this trouble gathering these people to join us. Now All Might isn't here to join us. He stopped his itch and looked up to the crowd standing up the steps. Well, perhaps some of the kids want to come out and play. Seeing the group staring up towards them, Buttercup was ready to charge and blast their sorry asses. Don't even think about trying anything, Buttercup. He snapped at her. She looked up to him in confusion. What? If you think I am going sit this out then dash. Then you need to go and get out of here. I won't let my students get hurt trying to fight real villains. He retorted back. Go and get out of here. I'll go and stop them. She glared back at him. You want to fight them alone? We can help you. Turning to her other sister. You are the class rep and her sister, that means you are responsible for the safety of the others. Don't let her do anything foolish. She was about to make another comeback, but Blossom and Bubbles squeezed her arms. She turned back to see Blossom making a gesture to the other students. They looked back to the others and saw some of them had real fear in their eyes. She almost forgot that many of them had never been in the face of real danger like she had faced in her life. To jump into a real fight wasn't something many of them were ready for yet. While she didn't want to, she looked back to her and nodded. Okay, Red, I understand. Aizawa grabbed the cloth around his neck and walked towards the steps. 13, I leave them to you. Immediately Izuku intervened. What are you gonna do? You can't fight them on your own. There's too many of them. Even if you can nullify their quirks, your fighting style's not suited for this. Your power works best in stealth and one-on-one fights. That's not gonna help with a group. All Aizawa had to say, you can't be a pro if you only have one trick. Leaving Izuku to gasp. Leaping off the top, the class teacher raced through the air towards the trio of villains standing below the steps. They all watched as the three seemingly smirked at him coming alone, but were completely caught off guard as their quirks deactivated before being wrapped up the next moment. The girl's mouth dropped in shock as the three villains were spun through the air above and slammed into each other just above Aizawa. I get the guy is strong, but I am impressed. Buttercup said to herself as she watched him casually WHP another person through the air with his binding cloths. Izuku, Buttercup, come on, let's go. Hearing their names snapped out of their trance, looking back and seeing the others already running and Blossom standing there waiting for her. Coming. They quickly ran up to his side and both of them ran towards the exit. What were you thinking right there? Ida yelled at Buttercup. Were you actually thinking on fighting those villains just now? She glared at him as they ran into the center of the group. What, you expect me to just sit and be attacked 4 eyes? He shook his head at her answer. I knew you were brash, but are you this foolish? Before she could reply to that, the purple smoke villain appears before them. There's no escape for you. All menacingly. That made everyone stop in their tracks. All of you get behind me. 13 yelled as the villain formed in front of them all. Kurohige's eyes narrowed down to the frightened students before him. It's a pleasure to meet you children. We are the League of Villains. Getting into this school was no trouble for us, your pathetic security made this simple for me. 13 walked forward and opened her finger cap readying her quirk. You came here for the students, didn't you? Kurohige chuckled and opened his form wider. The children here are mere appetizers for the main course. Isn't this a fitting place for All Might to take his last breath? That last statement got all three girls wide-eyed. All Might? Some of the students said in shock, amazed villains were trying to actually go for the #1 hero. 13 was just about to use her quirk, but suddenly felt a gust rush by her as Buttercup leapt forward to attack. Wait, stop. 13 tried calling out, her words on deaf ears as Buttercup's blast engulfed the front plaza. Not happening, smoky as. I may not like muscles, but I am not letting you kill him or anyone else for that matter. She scowled as she braced himself for another attack. His eyes faltered though when the smoke cleared and the dark mist remained. That was a close one, Kurohige hissed at the teen before him, his mist shifting around his body, but you should be careful children, otherwise someone will get hurt. You girl, get behind me. 13 cried out, but before she could react the miasma raced out engulfing most of the area, the mist swirling through the students. I'll scatter you across this facility, to meet my comrades and your deaths. As he did that, a few were able to escape. They all gasped as the strange mist raced through the air enveloping their entire body. Kurohige's yellow piercing eyes shone through, as if they were staring at the girls. Our new associate has a little surprise for you three. It made the girls startled but quickly replaced by what's to happen. Panic began running through each of their mind as they felt like they were seemingly falling through the ground. What is this? What's going on? The people who managed to escape watched in horror at a purple misty dome engulf their classmates. Blossom. Buttercup. Bubbles yelled as her sisters were inside, until they weren't. Blossom Buttercup looking down at the area where they were taken. What do we do? The guy's not affected by physical attacks and can apparently teleport stuff. Zero said. Hearing that, 13 was thinking in silence. Tenya, right? She quickly asked him. Yes. I have a job for you. Run to the school and tell the faculty what's going on here. Causing Ida to tense slightly at that. The alarms aren't sounding, and our phones and radios are useless right now. One of these villains must be to blame. Even though Eraserhead is canceling people's quirks left and right, we're still completely sealed off from the outside world. Likely, whoever is causing this interference hit as soon as they warped into the USJ. They could be anywhere. Impossible to hunt down. It'll be faster for you to run and get help than for us to find whoever's jamming everything. Yes, but it would be disgraceful for me to leave you all behind. Not liking the idea of it. Sometimes you have to do things you're not happy about if you want to be a hero. Use your quirk to save others. Be a real hero. 13 pressed urgently. Before Ida could respond, Kurohige appears menacingly. Even if this is your only option, are you really foolish enough to strategize in front of your enemy? Sending streams of his mist, intending to stop them. It won't matter if you know what we're planning or not when I'm done with you. She said, activating her quirk, Black Hole, that sucks in the mists. As the mist was getting successfully sucked in, most of the students cheered for joy. No. The humanoid fog yelled before his tactics suddenly changed and 13 saw a spiraling warp gate appear behind her. She felt a powerful pull on the back of her own costume. With a painful cry she deactivated her quirk just as her suit was torn away and broken down into the warp gate behind her. The villain had turned her own quirk against her. She could feel her back, partially shredded by her own quirk, and then her vision went fuzzy and she got a lightheaded sensation as she collapsed to the floor. 13. Ochako screamed loudly as they all watched the pro-hero hit the ground. All eyes were now on this tragic sight. And something in Bubbles snapped. Shipwreck Zone. The black portal opens once again to drop off Izuku and Buttercup. Still confused by the whole thing, they end up falling head first into the deep waters below, making a big splash. They just barely caught the vague movements of a silhouette from the corner of their eyes, when it abruptly made its whole self known to them at an incredible speed. It was a person with a shark-like face, their massive jaws agape with razor-sharp teeth poised to take a bite out of them. Buttercup was prepared to break some teeth when a new member joined. "Guys!" Tsuyu swam in out of nowhere and delivered a powerful double kick to the shark form user's face. Her long, prehensile tongue shot out and wrapped around Midoriya's waist and with her arms, grabbed Buttercup's. With a powerful kick of her legs they were rocketing towards the surface. In just a few short moments, Izuku and Buttercup were tossed onto the deck of the fake yacht. "Thanks, Azui," Izuku thanked as he glanced over the edge of the boat to see over a dozen villains in the water. "Yeah, thanks, Frog Girl." Not meaning to sound mean, she just didn't know her name up until then. "No problem, Karo. But you can call me Tsu, also we seem to be in trouble here, you too," Tsuyu mentioned, looking over the edge as well. "Well, isn't this just swell?" she said sarcastically at the present situation. "Yeah, they said they're here to kill All Might, right?" Izuku commented as he looked over the group of villains in the water. "That's what the blue-haired guy said, as he announced it." Tsu said. "I'm no fan of his, but don't people claim that he is super strong or something?" Buttercup questioned, skeptical about it. "That is true, but think about it. These guys must have carefully planned out this attack, and if that's so, then they might have really created something that might destroy All Might." Tsu explained, but though she did not show it, she worried at the thought. Izuku was having his own internal conflict about the distressing news that All might actually be killed, but he brushed it aside, not truly believing what they said. But before he can even plan, his mind was brought back when he caught sight of a familiar green glow. He turned his head to see Buttercup emitting a green glow that was radiating dangerously. "Be Buttercup. What's the matter?" Izuku nervously asked, as he and Tsu were a bit taken aback. She turned towards them, fists in ball. "What wrong? What's wrong? I will tell you, Izuku. Right now I want to punch that creep so hard that he falls to a coma. I stupidly fought air and got us all transported here. And my sisters could be who knows where, and if they hurt them, I'm gonna—" She didn't finish when a hand rested on her shoulder and she snapped her head at the person. Tsu, with a neutral face, said. "Honestly, Buttercup, this is the first time I have seen you look remotely vulnerable." Making the once angry girl extinguish her powers and look at her. "Huh. Still mad, but equal levels confused. I have younger siblings and something tells me that you are the middle-born." Buttercup didn't respond, but Tsu took it as a yes. "Honestly, I can see you are the tough one of the group. Saw it the first day, but you seem really kind as well." Turning her head to look at Izuku, as if to make a point. "Now, you shouldn't feel bad, we would still be transported no matter what. This was all planned." She ended it with a croak. Now it was time for Midoriya to talk. "Buttercup, no one is blaming you for this. And we will stop these guys." Donning a determined stare that makes the two girls stare at him. "If they are planning something to kill All Might, then we have to stop him, together." That got him a croak. That could mean she agrees, and Buttercup gave a smile. "Alright, Green Bean, what should we do?" Clearly back to her normal self. He then goes on to forming a plan that should get them off this boat and furthermore take down these villains. Tsu chimes in to talk quirks, explaining her abilities physiologically frog-like. Able to jump really high, crawl up walls, sticking out her tongue to about 20 meters, and some other unsavory other abilities, which made Buttercup both impressed and a bit grossed out. Izuku explained his quirk being that it enhances his strength, but it can hurt himself if doesn't have control over it. Buttercup was giving the name to her quirk, citing it as plasmakinesis, but before she could give an explanation of it, a buzzing sound came over Izuku. He didn't know what the problem was, but he felt as though there was danger on the rise. That made his suspicions correct when the boat rattled, shaking from side to side. "What now?" Sue questioned, trying to hold on tight. Izuku still could feel the buzzing and it pointed him towards a wall next to Buttercup. Having an idea of what might occur. Look out! He pulled her out of the way, then with a bang, something crashed through the wall, leaving a big hole behind. What the hell? Buttercup exclaimed, as she rose to her feet to deal with it. She stopped in her tracks to a sight before her. A large being, reaching about 8 feet in height. He was of a large round build, looking fat but strong. He had the familiar red-orange hair with the characteristic long bangs that usually covered his one eye. The individual was of a sickening green skin color. He had on a big green shirt with 2 yellow lines on each sleeve, blue jeans, a black belt, freckles, a small dark green and black and white sneakers. In a slow speech. Hey Buttercup. Long time no see. Adorning a toothy smile that made Buttercup anything but happy. Big Billy. She exclaimed in shock. Mountain Zone. What the F? Jairu cursed as she, Momo, and Kaminari were surrounded by a large group of villains. The last few moments had been a blur for them, being engulfed in the black-purple fog, the feeling of weightlessness, followed by the sensation of falling. The trio had landed, unsteadily, on the rocks of the mountain they'd seen on the other side of the USJ. The villains had literally been lying in wait for them. They were managing fine, even with Denki's cowardly screams from the face of a villain attacking him. Both girls were making use of their individual quirks, with Momo materializing a metal bow staff for herself and a sword for Jairu to use in her defense. Jairu also made it a point in between battles to use her quirk, sending generated sound waves directly at her opponents. At one point, Momo created a 100mm thick insulation sheet over her and Jairu. Go Kaminari. That was to ensure that Kaminari's quirk won't hurt them, and it proven right. Badass. He generated and sent out 1.3 million volts of electricity at the villains. This caused all the said villains to lose consciousness and fall to the ground, effectively beating them up. Nice work Kaminari. Momo realized at that time that due to Kaminari's excessive use of his quirk, he has now fried his brain, effectively turning him into a dunce for some time. He said with a goofy grin and thumbs out. Landslide zone. You guys plan to kill All Might? Todoroki questioned as he watched a group of thugs rush him. Don't make me laugh. In an instant half the zone was frozen over in several centimeters of ice. Every villain had been frozen in their tracks and Todoroki exhaled frosted breath. Die. A bird-like villain with a spear flew at Todoroki from behind. He was clocked in the face with a rock from nowhere and Todoroki used the lapse in concentration to grab the villain's weapon and freeze it and the bird-like man both. Now, I have some questions for you. Todoroki turned and glared at the closest villain. If you don't answer me honestly, then I'm going to leave you frozen like this. You'll probably develop frostbite before anyone comes to get you. You might even lose parts of your body from it. The villains nearby were all starting to panic at this point. I want to be a hero, so I'd prefer to not do something so cruel, but he left the sentence hanging and Toru felt herself shivering too, and not just because of how cold it was. Downpour zone. What the F is that? A villain screamed just before a large, clawed hand slammed him and 2 other villains through the concrete wall on the other side of the fake street. Dark Shadow was out, nearly in full force, in the gloom of the perpetual rain. Tokoyami was letting his quirk decimate every villain that got close while Kota, who had also been warped here, watched his back. Rarg. Dark Shadow let out a very unbird-like roar as its normally yellow eyes were now red from the increased power. Every villain that came within its range was knocked aside like a child might knock aside a toy. Ruin Zone. Kurushima had been dropped into this area and has been surrounded by villains almost instantly. Though was hard, but he had proven to be more than his opposition expected as he'd broken through the encirclement and was now fighting his way through the horde of thugs. Stay down. Kurushima barked as he landed his rock-like fist into the gut of another villain. The thug collapsed holding his stomach and his eyes rolled up a second later as he lost consciousness. It's like there's no end to them. He continued on for the next few minutes, handling each and every attack, until he thought all the villains were down until. At the corner of his eye, he saw a chameleon-like villain seemingly appeared out of nowhere as he lunged for his back with a knife. Kurushima was on time to use his quirk Harden to protect his back from the deadly attack. He then grabbed the villain by his face in those few seconds of him seeming confused at the predicament and slammed him into the ground, knocking him out. Man, that was tough. He said to himself, tired from having to handle these thugs himself. He was about ready to get out of here and rush to help the others when outside the broken window, he saw something that caught his eye in another zone. Fire zone. In Fire Zone, or what little fire was left around, Blossom was found in that recreation zone after being transported by that mist guy. When she arrived, she was immediately ambushed by different guys, each with a quirk or weapon aimed at her. Unfortunately for them, they messed with the wrong UA student. Get that BRT. Dozens guys were chasing after her, but Blossom was not going to give them an inch to do what they want. As they approached her, end of the line, little girl. Charging at the red-haired girl, they lunged at her, but were stopped mid-air in a pink glow. What the F just happened? One of the people trapped shouted out as he struggled to break free. Sorry fellas. Walking over to the men with both hands glowing. You picked the wrong group of students to mess with. Finishing that, she sent them hurtling towards a building that, lucky for them, was not on fire. There were more guys pouring out of the corners of the fake city. Blossom looked around and was quite annoyed at this whole thing already. End of the line girly. Getting closer, they all smirked as if they had gotten their prey. Blossom had enough of this little game and decided to put this whole situation on ice. Before they realized it, she took a deep breath and let loose an all-might gust of icy winds that spread across the land, covering all the areas and trapping the criminals in frost. When she was done, she finally relaxed. Finding her breath and calm, she could finally think without being chased and fighting. Honestly, these villains have really planned this assassination scheme well enough, but since All Might is not around. Now her face was in a frown. They might not take it too well. Also, what did that misty guy mean by surprise for us? Before she could come up with a theory, a noise rose that sent her on alert. Who's there? Show yourself. She demanded, preparing to freeze any loose goons. You know Blossom, I have said it before and I stand by it. Blossom ironically froze at a sickeningly familiar voice. The man stepped out of the corner on his iconic high-heel shoes. You give me chills. A devilish smirk on his face and black sunglasses that covered his eyes. Ace. Back at the plaza. Everyone was still in shock and dismay at what had happened to 13. Uraraka and Mina were tending to her injuries, but it wasn't looking good. Now children, how about you give me that fallen hero and I will promise to spare your lives. Even if they could not see it, but a sinister smile could be felt from that. Everyone was tensed about what to do, with Ida planning to rush forward and complete the initial plan. He was momentarily stunned when Bubbles walked over in front of the mist man. No, step back. Ida warned, but it fell on deaf ears. Kurohige observed the little girl with narrowed eyes. Ah, you didn't get transported with your sisters, huh? Well, we can dash. He was cut off by her demand. Bring them back, she said in a chilling low voice. Huh? You must be joking. You think I will honestly dash? Her head shot up with hot tears running down her face and an angry expression plastered on her face. A pulsating blue glow emitted from her body. I said bring them back, directing a pressurizing sound wave that knocked back the humanoid fog. No one was moving from the spot as they just witnessed it happen. Ida, run now. Uraraka shouted for her friend to start moving. Getting over his daze, the now determined boy took the chance and ran off to complete his mission. Bubbles was about to decimate the doors to help Ida but was hit by a loud sonic burp that knocked her down. Ida heard that noise and looked back, but in doing so, a tiny speeding object knocked Ida off his feet and landed on his stomach. He looked up to see what stood before him. "Where are you going, Señor Gafas?" A dwarfish man with a heavy Spanish accent mockingly asked. Bubbles shot her head up to see someone she hadn't seen in years. Grubber. Shipwreck zone. Back on the boat, Buttercup, Izuku, and Tsu were attacked by an unknown villain to everyone but Buttercup herself. "Big Billy W, what are you doing here?" Buttercup demanded. The two other heroes were on guard as well, but were confused on who this guy was and how those Buttercup know him. Buttercup. "Do you know this guy?" Karo. Tsu calmly inquired of her. But Buttercup didn't seem to respond, as she was looking as if she is seeing a ghost. "Answer me!" She shouted her demands. Instead of answering, with a smile, Billy raised both his arms in the air, and right before her eyes, it morphed into a rock fist. He dropped it down at where Buttercup was located. "Buttercup, look out!" Izuku and Tsu cried out. A loud boom was heard. The two opened their eyes to see what happened. Buttercup was holding the green guy's rock arms over her head with both her hands. "Well, I knew you were never the thinker type, Billy." She had a serious face as she held off his fists. With enough force, pushed back Billy, knocking him off balance, enough time for Buttercup to deliver a glowing punch that sends him back a few feet on the floor. "Okay, Billy. You are going to tell me how the hell you got here, or else dash. Or else say what Powerpuff sissy." An elongated hand stretched out of the hole and, not realizing enough, knocked the girl back, landing into the arms of her friends. Her friends were checking if she was okay but stopped to see over a new addition to their trouble. The being had a long, skinny body with a curve in his back and slanted pink eyes. Green skin. Over his long, messy black hair he wears a brown Kangol hat that is always worn backwards. He was wearing a white tank top with black and yellow stripes, matching sweatbands, orange shorts, and black high-top sneakers. "Snake." She groaned as she saw him. "Hello, Buttercup. Miss us?" he said, spitting out his forked tongue. "Like hell I do." Getting back on her feet to face them, with her friends behind her. "What do you want here? Who are you guys?" Izuku directed his question at the skinny guy. "Oh, we will let her explain who we are." Pointing a stretched finger at an annoyed Buttercup. "Don't make me ask you again." She growled. Snake just gave a wicked smile. "Oh, Buttercup, you were always so impulsive." "Very well, if you are dying to know. How about you find and ask him?" And like that, all the color seemed to have drained from her face as she heard the name of the person that started all this. "OSHT. Ace, why are you here?" "Better question. How are you here?" she asked, trying not to show the surprise in her voice. "Oh, I thought that mist guy already told you that we were your visitors today." Not letting down his smile. "Still doesn't explain why or what you are doing here." She paused for a moment. Scoping the scene. "Are the rest of your cronies here as well?" Looking around, she saw no one else. He gave an amused laugh that made a shiver go down her back. "Well, Blossom. Sorry to disappoint you, but my gang is taking care of your sisters separately, while as the leader, I deal with you." "What?" "Yes, Blossom. Now as for how I got here. You can thank our good friend him." Giving a shark tooth grin. Blossom was now stunned. Him? Not believing her ears. Yes. Him. Adjusting his sunglasses. "Oh, and did I forget to mention he gave me the power to do this." Taking it off, he shot black and red beams. An ear-splitting scream was echoing out through the city. Blossom's screams were of those of anguish and pain, as if she was being burned alive. Though strangely, if you saw the situation, you would not see any burn marks forming, maybe due to her powers. As she screamed, a glow of red and black energy enwrapped her being. Ace only laughed at the pains of his victim. I always knew I could still make the girls scream for me. Smirking as he didn't tire from emitting his blasts. Blossom could still hear his voice. The cold underlying tone filled with intent to kill her, no, not just her but her sisters as well. She needed to focus on her activating her powers, even if it was to telekinetically push him back, to get her bearings, but her body was in too much agony to even focus. Well, Blossom. I guess it's time to end the games and finish you and your sis. Ace was interrupted when a punch, as if it was made of rock, struck him square across his jaw, sending him flying until he fell a few feet away. At that break, the black and red glow that surrounded the red head disappeared and she fell down from pain and exhaustion. Torturing a girl like that is so not manly. Kurushima stood in front of the man, his quirk activated on his arms. A scowl on his face as he locked eyes onto the villain. Ace scrambled to get up. His face had already formed a swollen bruise on his right cheek, a slightly dislocated jaw. His black sunglasses was cracked on his lens. But even with it still on, you could feel the anger-fueled intent emitted from the guy's eyes. That almost made Kurushima flinch but stood on guard against the enemy. Well. Aren't you a hero, you little SHT? Anger spewing with each word coming out of his mouth, betraying the smile that masks his hidden emotions. How about you run along and don't interfere with matters that don't concern you? That girl you're saving can handle my little punishments. If Kurushima didn't have already a reason to beat up the sum in front of him, then he sure had one now. You will have to get through me first. He exclaimed, now ready to throw down. Ace only smirks. Suit yourself. Raising both hands, he shot blasts of the same black and red beams at his supposed next victim. The battle on the shipwreck was in for its own drama. Sue was both confused and on guard at what was happening right before her. She knew that the three girls were somewhat strong, even before they entered UA. How could you not, when you saw their abilities, which were still a mystery to her? Right now, she is trapped on a ship, surrounded by villains in the water and two sickeningly green villains who seemed to know the raven-haired girl. She was too in thought to notice an elongated hand sneak behind her, but Izuku acted fast. Watch out, Sue. With quick feet, he grabbed the hand before it accomplished its mission and had it in a death grip. That brought a scowl onto Snake, so much so that he writhes his arm frantically to knock the boy off. Izuku tries to hold on but was nearly knocked off the boat with a scream, if it not for Tsu's quick tongue. Snake was snickering at the scene that he didn't notice a beam of plasma push him back into Big Billy, who fumbly caught him. How about you idiots tell me why you are here before I fry your ass? She said, leaving no room for jokes. Getting his footing he simply smiles. I already told Yus that him is the one who has get us to pay you and your sisters a little visit. Honestly, it don't matter as long as we take you down. An aura of malicious intent surrounded both of them. Buttercup could feel the sickening energy being given off and she didn't want to endanger her classmates any more than she had. Turning back to eye the situation of them and the villains in the water. Tsu, Izuku. Get out of here now and help the others. That made them wide-eyed. Buttercup, you are not seriously going to fight them alone. A worried tone under her calm-sounding voice. We can't leave you here alone. We decided to this together. Izuku exclaimed, not liking what she was ordering of them. At that, the villains took advantage of their arguing and rushed forward, with Billy morphing his skin and body into rock golem ready to deliver a hammer punch. Buttercup's hands glowed bright and met that punch head-on, that it sent a small thud out. You don't know who these guys are. I can handle this. You two need to get going and help Diaz before he gets severely injured. Matching punch after punch from the rock dunce, not stopping to give him an inch. Tsu realized that she had a point, she also realized that she was looking out for them. Izuku could see it too but he just didn't want to run away and leave her in trouble. Before either of them could make a rebuttal, a familiar green hand with now sharpened talons struck into the floor from above, catching the attention of the two. Where are you going, sissies? The green elongated man was now above them, baring his fangs, dripping with a purple venom. Slitted eyes that resembled that of an actual snake, now peered above them like a predator awaiting to enact his final kill. Before he could send another hand at them, it was stopped mid-air when burning green flames blazed past its intended path, blocking it. They all turned their head to the unexpected sight of Buttercup raising a flaming fist at the direction, with tense glowing green eyes no less. Escape. Now. Her voice left no room for discussion, and though it seemed not so heroic, Sue held on to Izuku and using her strong legs jumped from the railing and across the waters. The villains were just about to shoot an attack that would take them down, but they didn't expect what was to come next. Take this. Delaware Smash. Sending his power to his arm then 2 fingers, he unleashed a whirlwind into the water that caused a strong backsplash and knocked the villains unconscious, leaving him slightly injured but proud of himself. As the 2 individuals were far enough away, Buttercup's smile lowered as she turned towards her 2 opponents with her signature Powerpuff scowl. Now. Let's see what you 2 idiots got. She cracked her knuckles, not taking her glare of them. The 2 were mad that they couldn't hurt the other 2 but were all the more going to enjoy thrashing the target of their anger in front of them. Let's go Powerpuff Sissy. Spitting up literally venom as he smirked. Up the stairs. The battle at the plaza was becoming its own brand of crazy. The students were now facing 3 opponents, in an attempt to save their lives and the lives of their injured teacher, as well as another one that was busy fighting hordes of villains. 2 of those opponents were very familiar to a certain blonde girl. Letting another sonic belch, the sound waves traveled fast and directly at the blonde superhero. Not wasting any time, she stood back on her feet and constructed her sono bubble, blocking out the effects of the destructive sound. When the sound stopped, she let the shield down, firing a vibration blast from her hands at the hunchback man. Unfortunately, before it could hit its mark, he disappeared in a blur. The speedster of the gang had left too, leaving Tenya still on the ground. She didn't want to waste the opportunity to at least get help. She leapt forward in the direction of the closed gates, powering up her fists to deliver a strong thunderclap. Before she could even get close, Grubber appeared before her with the Spanish midget. Keep the blonde chick busy while I outpay Senor Gafas to buy the idiot some time. After a nod, the speedster left, leaving the disgruntled guy to the blonde. Get out of the way, Grubber. Not wanting to play around. All that was replied was a disgusting raspberry at the girl, for which did not understand what it meant but took it as a no. You asked for it. She kicked off with a thunderous clap in the disgruntled gang member's directing. He stood there as if not fazed, with a narrowing of his eyes. He countered that attack with a sonic burp. The 2 impacted and cancelled each other out. Bubbles didn't let up and sent her own sonic scream, which was also countered by his own sonics. She unleashed vibration blasts from her hands, for which Grubber fluidly and creepily dodged them. Tenya, now off the ground, had to act fast while whoever that villain was, is of somewhere. Turning to face the exit, but before he could take another step. Where you going, Senor Gafas? Mockingly asking the teen speedster as he stood few feet away from him. Get out of the way, I must do my duty. Scaping all the confidence Ida could muster to sound not so intimated. In response, the green midget shot at him, to deliver a strike after strike to his body. Ida tried to defend, blocking each strike the best he could while keeping his balance. When an opening was presented, he dodged an attack in time and ran, with the green midget smirking as he ran after the armored kid. 2 speedsters were running around the area, one chasing after the other, but the smaller guy ran faster, and to other people, he seemed like he was mocking him. Whenever Ida would try to get to run, the midget would pick up just enough speed and appear in front of him, then Ida would realize and run the other way, making some distance, only a few minutes later to be blocked off again. It went on and on like that. Where the pro hero had fallen, the students were watching this ordeal with worry. Guys, this not good. Zero exclaimed as he saw this whole ordeal. Agreed, but we have to help them out. Shoji responded. Right beside the injured hero, Uraraka spoke up. Guys, we have to help Ida get out of here if we are to get help and save 13. She exclaimed at the, worried for the severely hurt individual below her. We know, Uraraka, but what can we do? The Kayama girl has practically dazed that missed guy, but he won't be down for long. Mina said, being shaken by the whole situation. Kota watched as Bubbles was battling the creepy guy. He saw she was trying to escape, so she may break down the door, but every time she unleashed a scream, he would copy and send one back to cancel it out. He looked to his friends and thought of an idea. Placing her hands on the ground, she let loose vibrations that caused the ground around her to shake and crack, sending it towards the target. He was finally caught off guard with that small tremor. Bubbles didn't let off when she increased the power output to cause a shatter and uproar outwards, causing the earth around to launch and knock the gangrene member to the ground. Take that, Grubber. She was having a small celebration of the victory until she saw something very horrific. Grubber's body was contorting, bones shifting in his body. The creature was standing up as if it did not feel pain or strain from what it did or went through. The moment it stood still, its eyes turned a red shade. It opened its mouth, to deliver not its usual sonic belch but a shriek. It was a high-pitch attack that Bubbles could not avoid or seem to form her bubble in time, RRGH, leaving her to feel the ear-splitting effects of the attack, as she was sent sprawling to the floor. Once the noise was cut off, everyone removed their hands from shielding their ears once they thought it was okay. But when they refocused on the battle, they saw another horrific display of the disgruntled creature go down on all fours, head turned upside down, as it rushed over to his enemy, like a spider after its meal. Bubbles, despite the pain, woke up just in time to capture the glimpse of Grubber making his way over to her. He was about to pounce on her before a figure got in its way and tackled the guy to the ground. Whipping her head to see what had happened, she was still reeling from the headache, but she could just as well focus in what was happening. Kota had tackled Grubber and was managing his best to subdue him, while holding a hand over his mouth, stopping any more attacks from happening. Zero go. To some, that would not be heard, but to Bubbles and a certain tentacle man, it was heard just perfectly. Hearing the signal, Shoji motioned to Zero to start. On it. Saying that, he went into the direction of the other fight taking place. Ida was still being toyed with by the other speedster. He was focused on trying to outpace him that he almost missed the signed call from his classmate Zero, motioning for him to run over to him. He did not see the point of such a request, but any idea was better than just distracting his opponent at this rate. Taking a second wind, he sped off to the intended location, leaving a frustrated midget behind. Where are you going, kid? We were just having some fun. Get back here. He yelled as he took off after him. Ida was getting close and so was the villain behind him. As he made his way over to the area, he soon realized what was to happen and with a serious look, set out to make it so. Come here, you pequeña mierda. He was nearing his target, and when he saw him stop at a certain plane, the midget flashed a toothy smile as he thought he was going to capture him. Te tengo. Was he? Ida sticking around, waiting for the right moment, and when the target was almost close, it was time. Now. Before the midget could make out what was about to happen, Tape sprung up from out of nowhere and captured him. He fell, skidding to a halt, feeling the exact sting of what he inflicted on the speedster he played cat and mouse with. Before he could sit to quickly free himself, multiple arms reached around him and wrapped him with more tape. Aparteos de mi, idiotas. Espera hasta que yo dash, whatever he said was cut off with tape over his mouth. Shoji, make sure you tie him up really good and don't forget his mouth. Zero instructed as Shoji managed to bundle up the squirming villain. Back up, Kota was finding it difficult to continue holding on to the frisky freak any longer. As Grubber got out of the big guy's hold. With a snarl, he was about to deal with the one who subdued him, but just as he was about to unleash a sonic shriek, a strong kick struck him from the back, powerful enough to send him flying to other side of the ledge, down to the ground, where he fell upon a restrained member of his gang. Bubbles, standing up, made her way over to the edge of the ledge, facing the two. Everyone were ready to fight back, but everybody. Stand back. Everyone looked up to see their blonde-haired classmate standing over them, ordering everyone to stand back. Everyone didn't hesitate to follow suit, as blue glowing eyes stared down with such intensity. Grubber finally powered up his attack, which seemed to be a dangerous one. As he let one rip, Bubbles unleashed one of her own. The attacks, colliding at a violent rate, neither side giving in. Bubbles was not going to give in. Reaching deep inside, unleashing what she knew would shatter two birds with one intense scream. Ballistic scream. The voice, although managed at a set direction, was carried in the air, trampling through the other's now comparably weak Sono attack. It not only beat the two gangrene members, knocking them unconscious, but in doing so, decimated the path leading up to the doors, destroying it in the process. As she finally stopped, what she had set out to do was now accomplished. The doors were opened. She looked around to see her classmates are fine, especially the speedster. With feigning strength and found voice, she yelled, "Run IIDA, now!" Momentarily stunned, he shook out of it and with the last bit of strength and conviction, ran out of the center, on a mission. And with that, the blonde finally slumped down, not on the hard floor but in a familiar pair of hands. Looking up, thanks Kota, drifting off for some well-deserved rest. As always, the big lug did not respond, but in his heart, he was glad he proved he was brave. The humanoid fog, after being dealt with such pressure, managed to recover but saw everything even while down. Shigaraki Tamura would not be pleased with his failure. With that he warped towards the one he served and watched over. Fire zone. Stay out of this, kid. Laser beams were shot after saying that, but his opponent managed to dodge the incoming attack. Kurushima, seeing an opening, crossed the bridge to come closer. Take your punishment like a man. Saying that, he hit him squarely across the jaw. That he staggered back broke the impact. That did not stop him from getting back up as he continued to fire shots after shots. Flames flickered in the background as a small fight broke out in the zone. Blossom was still slightly unconscious after the surprising attack by her opponent. Kurushima arrived just in time to stop whatever he was doing to her, activating his quirk, thrusting punches after punches at Ace. The latter, being more durable than he expected, took each punch that he wouldn't be able to dodge and delivered his own swift hit. Blossom, who had been hit by the attack, could still hear the whole exchange going on between them. "Listen, kid, this doesn't involve you. I just came to deal with her and her sisters per the boss's orders. So if you keep on getting in my way, you won't like me very much, you little SHT." Kurushima just gave a scowl, raising both arms as if to continue the brawl. "I don't like you as of now. Like hell I will allow you or your so-called boss to hurt my classmates, let alone Blossom. That is not what a hero does, and like hell I will sit back while you do so." His voice rose at the last part, making his point across to him. Ace just gritted his teeth but put on a forced smile. "No problem, kid. But you have no idea who you're dealing with." He said that with an ominous tone that would make anyone near him shiver in slight fear. Unbeknownst to the two guys, Blossom, drenched in sweat, was having an internal struggle within her own subconscious. Him is back, and it seems that he has made new friends. They must not know who him is if they agreed to work with him. I don't know why Ace is here, but if he's here, then the rest of his gang are around, and which means the girls are facing either 2-on-1 or 3-on-1. This not good at all. But how and where did they get their powers from? Isn't obvious, lady. B, but how? Who cares? We have to stop him now. But we don't know where he is. We got to get him out of this world. We have to come up with a plan first. No. We have to solve this threat now or he will kill us all. But we are still hurt, I can't move. Then let's give your body a little jump start. W8-. Eyes opened, unleashing a vibrant pink stare, capturing the full view of the area around her. Mind was running 1,000 miles per second. A pink aura surrounded her body as she levitated to her feet, one of anger but calm was holding it down. Hair untangled from her braid and stood up, flowing out. The two fighters took a moment to realize what was happening. Blossom? Kurushima shocked at what was happening now. Not so fast, Red. That caught the dazed girl's attention, narrowing her gaze on the reason of her stress. I was told to capture you and your sisters, and I ain't going till it's over. Dropping his glasses on the ground, his eyes glowed, emanating red and black. Then he fired full intensity. Blossom, look out. Despite Kurishima's warnings, Blossom took the shot head-on, firing her own eye beams that collided with the other's attack. The power usage was barely comparable, for Blossom had a stronger push to her attack, that it struck Ace off his feet, slamming into a nearby building, going through it in the process. The victory was short-lived when Kurushima was pulled out of his victory, to lay his eyes on a troubling scene. Blossom's body was twitching, muscle spasmed. Thinking it must be a drawback from her quirk usage. No. Cradling her body in her arms, she tensed before she unleashed the aura. She emitted, sending it out into fading form of light waves, till it disappeared. The wave was not noticed by many, but by those having special senses. Bubbles, what's going on? Blossom must be in pain. Even through the tired state she was in, she knew her sister's energy was also feeling strained. Buttercup, she was defending against her two opponents when a certain shiver went down her spine, Red, turning her focus towards them, the only words that came out with much uncontrolled anger and rage. Now you've done it. Before her eyes took over a dangerous shade of green. When she was done, her body went back to normal, swaying until she collapsed to her knees, falling to her side. Kurushima, brought back from his own daze, rushed over to his classmate to see if she was all right. Shaking her slightly to gauge if she was okay. He only managed to get that she was out cold and possibly exhausted, physically and mentally after that. He can't help but wonder what was all that about. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author ChiWriters on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.